timer start? Yes. Alright guys, so tomorrow we're having a test. This is everything that's in this handout is going to be on the test tomorrow plus a couple more things. So here, the first thing they ask is for the domain. From a graph, domain is left to right. Why? Because we're going according to the x values, minimum to maximum. So you see it starts at an arrow and it ends at an arrow. That's why it's all real numbers. And then range is bottom to top. So at the bottom, how low does this go, and then how high does it go? Well, obviously it's going to keep going because of the arrow. And because it's an exponential function, we know that it is approaching the 3, but never crosses it. So our range is y is greater than 3. It cannot be equal to, though. Why? Because our asymptote is 3, meaning it approaches but will never get to 3. Y-intercept is just wherever it crosses the y-axis, 0, 4. From left to right, this is increasing, so it is a growth. Number 2, the value of a house in El Paso is said to increase in value by 6.2% each year. Write an equation to determine the value of a house over X years when the house is initially worth $210,000. So you're supposed to use this equation, a function of t, little a, 1 plus or minus the r raised to the time, where time is an exponent. This is the final value, or our output. This is the starting value, the little a, and the r represents the percentage. Make sure that you put it in a decimal. So that's 6.2%. We would divide by 100 to change it to a decimal. So our starting value is 210,000. Open parentheses, 1 plus, because it is increasing. 0.062 is the percent in decimal, raised to the t, time, in years. Next one asks, what is it going to be worth in 8 years? So we can just use the equation and raise it to the power of 8. So you would do that in a calculator page. 210,000, open 1 plus 0.062 raised to the 8. Okay. Now, since it is money, you can highlight it, hit enter, and it will actually give you the decimals too. So this house will be worth $339,793.78 when you plug it into the calculator. All right, next question is, write an equation for the arithmetic sequence below. So I actually have it written on the board. I'm not sure if some of you guys saw it or not. And it's a sub n equals a sub n minus, a sub 1 plus parentheses n minus 1 times d, the common difference. Well, in this equation, to find the equation, all I need to find is a sub 1 and d. That's it. Everything else stays the same. So our output is a sub n. Our a sub 1 is always going to be the first number. The little 1 represents number 1, so it's our first number in the pattern. And then we're going to add, this part doesn't change because that's like our x. And then we have to find the common difference. What is this changing by? Because it's arithmetic, it has to be add or subtract. What are we adding or subtracting? Plus 5. So there's our equation. Since we're adding a 5, that's it. So all you had to find was the first number and was the displacement, and this equation is going to be on the board. So now you know how to use it. Though you already knew, this is just review because we've already done arithmetic sequence. Now we're going to do geometric sequence, which is the same thing, but this is going to be multiplying or dividing. And the equation is a little bit different, but not very much so. It also starts with a sub 1, and then we multiply by r raised to the n minus 1 in the exponent, where we need to find a sub 1, which is just the first number again, and r is our ratio, common ratio. So a sub 1, easy, first number, times the ratio, just put later. Yeah, just put remind me later, and then go back. There you go. It should still be going. It is. Alright. And then what is this changing by? Obviously it's decreasing, so it has to be dividing by 2. Since we're dividing by 2, remember we're going to have to write it as times 1/2. So that's our ratio. Times 1/2, so put 1/2 in place of our raised to the n minus 1. This stays because that is our variable, our x. Alright, the next one, very similar. It's an arithmetic sequence, but it doesn't say that it is the recursive rule, which is actually even easier because it's a sub n minus 1, and all you have to focus on is this part, the minus 12. A sub 1 is our first number, right? Always, a sub 1. And then it says that you're going to subtract 12, and that's all you have to do. What's 7 minus 12? Negative 5. Negative 5 minus 12? Negative 17. Negative 17 minus 12. Yeah. And then let's do one more. The next one would be negative 41, and this is the reason. Check this out. This says n has to be greater than or equal to 2. Well, we know this is a sub 1, meaning that the little n here is a 1. Well, it doesn't want a 1. It wants anything greater than or equal to 2. So we're not going to start with 7. We're going to start with the second number. And then it says, find the first 4 terms. These are the first 4 terms. So watch out, because if this was answer choices, trust me, they would have had this. And then that would have been wrong. Why? Because it says n is greater than or equal to 2, meaning we're starting in the second number and then finding the first 4. Because of this n. Yes. You got that? So I can move it up? Yeah, that n always tells you the position. So if it's 2, that means second number. If it's 3, that means third number. If it's 4, then it's fourth number, and so on. Alright, the next one. It says find the range of the function, and then it gives us the equation. So let's say we were on a test, and this was our question. We have to make sure that we open a graph so we can see it. 4 parentheses, control division, 1 over 2, close parentheses, raised to the x. Okay. Alright, this is obviously approaching the 0. And then you can double check if you want by looking at the t. And on the positive side, because it's going on the right side, it is approaching the 0. And see how it never gets to it? Even though this looks like it approaches a 1, this really is, that's negative 7, is there's 7 zeros in front. Who? No. Alright, so just by the graph or even by the table, you can see that this is approaching 0 but never getting to it. Yes. It is above the 0, so it is y is greater than or equal to 0. Alright, number 7 is very similar. If you see, this graph is approaching the 3, and it doesn't cross it, but it gets very close, so that is our asymptote. Now remember, it is a horizontal line, so nobody should put A or C, because those are vertical lines. The answer is D. Where it approaches the 3, but it doesn't cross it. Alright, number 8 is just like our homework, and it's just like number 2, where we have to find a function of t equals little a, which is starting value, 1 plus or minus the rate raised to the t. So our starting value is 150 if you read the problem. It says it's going to be increasing by 7%, and then they want to know what it will be after 5 years. So can't be this one because our little a is 150, and it can't be this one. 50-50 chance. And then if we're adding, because it's increasing, 1 plus 0.07 is C. if it would have been decreasing, then the answer would have been D. 1 minus 0.07 would be 0.93. Raised to the 5 because that's 5 years time. All right, number 8. Number 8 is like number 3, where it wants you to write the arithmetic sequence, the equation, which again is a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. A sub 1 is negative 6, so a sub n equals negative 6 plus n minus 1, and then just find the common difference. What is this changing by? Plus 5. So you put positive 5. If it was minus, then you would put negative 5. And these are touching. It is multiplication. If you notice, none of those look like this. Now watch out for that in the test. What happened is that they simplified your equation. Meaning, since this is touching, they distributed the 5 to the n to the negative 1. So that gave me 5n. 5 times n is 5n. 5 times negative 1, negative 5. Bring down the negative 6, and this was a positive 5n. Then these two are like terms, and they will combine to give me a negative 11. So our answer is D. If you want, you could change it 2 more minutes so it doesn't keep popping up. Okay, thank you. Yes. Alright, next one. Find the fourth term in the sequence. A sub 1 is 126, meaning this is my first number. And then check this out. See how this is touching? The 3 is touching the A. That means we're going to multiply the number times 3 and then subtract a 5. So we're going to multiply this number by 3, then subtract a 5. And you're going to find 4 terms. Obviously, this is the first one. So I need to do this 3 more times so I can find the fourth term. So calculator page, 126, let me clear that. 126, or 3 times 126 minus 5. So my next number is 373. Then do it again. 3 times 373 minus 5. 3 times 373 minus 5. Okay, 1114. Then do it one more time. 3 times 1104 minus 5. Okay, so the fourth number is going to be 3,337. Does that make sense? So you could do this tomorrow, right? Just follow what the equation says. Alright, number 11 is like number 2 and number 8, where you're going to read a story. They're going to tell you a beginning value. If for some reason they give you the end value, then we would do numerical solve to find the missing value, okay? So they do give me the beginning value, so that's our little a, so 42,000. And then this is increasing 6%, so 1 plus 0.065. And they want to know how much will he earn in 4 years, so raised to the 4. So 42,000, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.065, close parentheses, raised to the 4. Okay. So our answer is $54,031.60, but I ran out of space. Okay. Then you would bubble it in. Turn it over. It's supposed to be a 6. Anthony, please put your head up. Alright, back side. Obviously, if it's in the review, it's because it's going to be on the test. Slope. Slope from a line is rise over run. Since it's going down, the rise is negative and goes down 3 and goes to the right 2. So it's negative 3 over 2 or negative 1.5. Both are correct. The y-intercept is easy where it crosses the y-axis. X-intercept and zeros are the same thing. It's just asking where does it cross the x-axis. 2, 0. Remember, they might say x-intercept 0 or roots or solutions. Remember, those are all the same thing. Domain, from left to right, this is a linear equation, so it actually keeps going, so it's all real numbers. Range is bottom to top. Well, that again is arrow to arrow, so that's all real numbers. So quick review from back in the day when we were doing linear equations. Quadratic equations are very similar, where it makes a parabola. It's very similar in domain and range. Well, mostly domain. From left to right, we go arrow to arrow, so the domain is all real numbers. But from bottom to top, you see the lowest it goes is -4. So y is greater than or equal to -4. Solutions, like I said, roots, zeros, or solutions are all x-intercepts. So they're asking you for the x-intercepts. -1, 0, and 3, 0. Easy stuff, right? Just where it crosses the x-axis, those are my solutions. Vertex is the lowest or highest point down here. So that's 0, -4. And remember, our range and our vertex should have the same y value. Y-intercepts, just where it crosses the y-axis. Also, just a quick review there, this vertex is a minimum because it's the lowest value in our vertex. In our parabola. Alright, system. That means we're going to have two equations, and you can go to a calculator, do menu, algebra, solve systems, okay, or menu 3, 3, 1, okay. So menu 3, 3, 1, okay, in a calculator page. Alright guys, I'll send you the video. I'm going to keep recording, so if you could leave quietly. Menu 3, 3, 1. Okay. You can move, Zach. It's okay. Yeah. You plug in. Oops. Shoot. It's not menu 3, 3, 1. Yeah. No, you're fine. Menu algebra. Solve systems is menu 3, 2. Okay. Okay, menu 3, 2, okay, or menu algebra solve systems. Then you get 2 boxes, and in each box, you're going to plug in each equation. Control division, 1/3 x plus, open the drawer, control division, 1/6 y equals 10. That's my first equation. Then y equals control division, -2x plus 10 on the top of the fraction and -4 on the bottom. Enter. Alright, so our answer is 25, 10. Meaning that this is our x value, this is our y value. They might ask you for the coordinate point, they might ask you for the x, or they might ask you for the y. Next part. Dividing variables with exponents. Regular numbers. 8/32 simplifies to 1/4. If you have negative exponents, remember they tell you I don't belong here, I belong on the other side. Well, 8 to the 12 is positive, so leave it. But we have 8 to the -9 on the bottom, so bring that one to the top and then make it positive. You have b to the -27, so it tells you I don't belong here, I belong on the other side. Move it to the other side and then make it positive. B to the 10 is positive, so it stays where it's at. And c to the 9 is positive, and c to the 12 is positive, so it stays where it's at. Now, if we have 2 on the top, that means we're multiplying. When we multiply variables, we add their exponents. So this is a to the 23. Then we're going to have b to the 37 on the bottom. Don't forget there's a 1 and a 4. And then if there's 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, that's division. So when we divide variables, we subtract their exponents. Well, 9 minus 12 is -3. Well, if it's negative, then it's going to go on the bottom and then make it positive. If you're not sure what I did there or you get a little confused, think of it this way. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the bottom, and then the 9 on the top will cancel with 9 on the bottom, leaving 3 on the bottom, so that's c to the third power. Next, number 5. If f of x equals x squared, can you open that door, please? And g of x equals negative x plus 8 in parentheses squared, write the change from graph f to graph g. So you can graph it just to double check, but if you put a negative, then one of the changes is going to be that it reflects across the x-axis. Okay, because now it's going to be a negative parabola. And then the second thing, when you add an 8 inside the parentheses, it's going to move or shift to the left 8 units. Okay, if it was subtraction, then it would shift to the right. If this was a plus 8 but not in parentheses, then it would move up. If it was a minus 8 but not in parentheses, then it would move down. In case that's in the quiz tomorrow. Next one, when you have a number and they give it to you inside the parentheses, they're giving you the x. So this equation, you're going to substitute that x, negative 5, into the equation in place of x. Watch out because this is a negative 5 and the equation already has a minus. So then you're going to have minus a negative, which will change to a plus. So the equation is now negative 7, 11 plus 5 because of the minus and the negative. Well, 11 plus 5 is 16, and negative 7 times 16 is negative 112. So that is our answer. If you're going to graph this inequality by hand, you would add a 4x so that y is by itself. But if I add it to one side, I add a 4x on the other. So this is my equation because y is by itself. Okay? That means my y-intercept is 5. My slope is positive 4, so we'd go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And then I run out of room, so now we go backwards, down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Okay, so my line, because it's less than but not equal to, it's a dashed line. Okay, and then less than means that we're shading below the line. So anything that is a solution will be in the shaded area. Now you don't have to do this by hand if you remember how to do it in the calculator. Since we have a graph, first instinct should be to open a graph. Okay. If you don't want to solve for y, then you would delete the equal sign and select relation. Y is greater than, the greater than is under the control equals first. Find the greater than. 5, let's say I didn't want to solve for y, then it's negative 4x plus y control equals is less than 5. So the original before I solve for y. Enter. And you see, if you look closely or you put your cursor on top of the line, you can see that is a dashed line or dotted line. And then we're obviously shading below. Remember that the solutions are anything that's in the shaded area. Last question, find the slope of the linear equation, 7x minus 5y equals negative 11. So one way of doing it is just like we did this one when we solved for y. So we need to get rid of the 7x and the negative 5. Get rid of the 7x first by doing the opposite. Subtract a 7. If I subtract a 7, I'm left with a 0, so it works. And if I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other. Now, because it has an x, you cannot subtract them, so they just play nice next to each other. Negative 11 minus 7x. Last thing there is to divide by a negative 5. The reason you divide is because this is touching the y, so that's multiplication. To get rid of it, you do the opposite. Watch out because when you divide everything. Not just the 7 or not just the 11. So negative 11 divided by negative 5 will give me a positive 2.2. And then we usually want to leave our slope as a fraction. Negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive 7/5 x. In case they do give you the answer in decimals, then you would just put -7 divided by -5, control enter, and it's positive 1.4. I really think they're going to give it to you in a fraction though, because they usually do. Now, let's say that again, I'm not very good at solving. Then you can go to a graph, delete the equal sign, select relation, graph the original, 7x minus 5y equals -11, enter. And then if you go to menu, analyze graph, dy dx here is your slope. So all you got to do is select it, and then click on the line. See how this floating little number is there? That's your slope, 1.4. In case it's in a fraction, then I would change all your answer choices to a decimal and see which one gives you 1.4. Alright guys, good luck on the test tomorrow. Please make sure you study.